Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today with Craig Wilson and his team from RealWear. We had the opportunity to hold a value stream mapping event at their facility. That's one of the great things we do at NWHPEC is we find ways to come together to have learning experiences, and it all depends on you, our members, to open your doors to us. So Craig had identified a need and knew that value stream mapping might be a way to help really bring that picture into clarity and provide some direction for them. And so we partnered together to offer a class. We have many handful of our class members here today beyond the RealWear team. So thank you, Brittany and Serena. And I don't think I am seeing anybody else right now, but so they'll chime in as well. But that was a great and fun interactive experience. And so here we are a month later. Craig is willing to share the process that they went through, what they learned along the way. And then what I'm excited about is just really where they're taking this, not just with the process that we looked at the time, but their thoughts moving forward, how value stream mapping can continue to work within their organization. So I am going to turn this over to Craig Wilson, the Director of Operations for RealWear, and he is going to share his journey with us. And then we'll have a chance to come back at the end and dive in a little bit deeper with questions. So we're going to start with the presentation. Over to you, Craig.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start by introducing the team. So Craig Wilson, and happy to report I actually moved up. So I'm VP of Operations at RealWear. And with me, I have Mark Needham, our Director of IT, and Trey Crow, our Planning and Fulfillment Manager. And then I think Wayne Smith has joined. Is he on? Our senior supply chain analyst, right? So the four of us were present among the full group for the VSM event in the first week of December. So I'm going to start by going through an overview of RealWear and lead into our problem that we want to address, and we'll take it from there.
Here, I'm just
my screen. Okay.
Yeah, and then I am just really quick. There we go. Now we can see. Now you can wave. There's the team members, and don't worry, you guys. I'll take you off when he starts talking.
Okay. Okay. So we've done the welcome. I'll go through the overview, a VSM summary, how we're going about our implementation, and also some discussion around deploying VSM and RealWear. Mark needs to cover the implementation approach that we're taking and deploying VSM at RealWear. And then Trey and Wayne will have some other around the current state VSM and some of the pain points that we experienced. I'll speak to those areas as well. And then Craig, definitely interested in any questions from the group, but also since we have Serena and Brittany on the call. I'm sorry.
You are starting to break up a little. What we might do when you present is maybe have you turn off your video, unfortunately, because I'm getting kind of a low signal coming from you and we're getting some breakup. Yeah, start talking. Let's get that.
So stop the video.
Yeah, let's see if that helps with your bandwidth.
All right, good. Thank you for calling that out. Okay. So I went too far here, so bear with me. Okay, so the current dynamic. So this is just a standard part of our standard overview of RealWear. So we target our product is a wearable computer tablet. Wear it on the head. It's all voice controlled. It's geared towards frontline workers. It's essentially a safety device. So one of our mottos is, it's hands-free, eyes forward, right? We are an assisted reality solution. That distinction is important from, say, virtual reality and augmented reality that we hear a lot about. So we are it's a ruggedized device, and I'll show you a picture of it here in a moment. Again, our niche is really industrial workers. Let's see if I can advance one slide at a time. Okay, so we are the global leader in rugged wearables, industrial strength, assisted reality solutions. What I'm showing here in the bottom left here is our flagship Navigator 520 device, recently upgraded with a larger display, 20% larger, with greater clarity. And then we also, on the far right, bottom right, have a intrinsically safe device, which is geared towards environments that are highly flammable, right? So it's an extra level of protection, so that if you're working, say, in an oil and gas industry, you're not at risk of any sparking or anything along those lines. Okay. And we were founded in 2016. We're essentially a spin-off of a display company called Copen. And our chief technology officer Chris Parkinson, came from that company. We are based in Vancouver. We're actually leasing, our home is at Fort Vancouver in the artillery barracks. We've been there essentially almost the full time. We have 100 employees around the world. We are globally dispersed: India, Europe, and throughout the U.S. Okay, and other countries. And we'll come back to that, because when we talk about value stream mapping, that creates some challenges for us, given how dispersed we are across the globe. Okay, just highlighting here quickly that we have over 40 accessories. This is just some of them here that go along with the device. So, and I apologize for my, okay, there we go. So you can mount the device on a special baseball cap that's shown here in the top row, or a work band. It can be attached to any industrial helmet, and that are regulated within country specific regulations. So we have hat clips that support any kind of helmet that's designed around the globe. But a whole variety of things. I won't get into all that here, but just want to highlight the portfolio. We also have a cloud service as well, and we're investing more and more into cloud analytics and software capabilities to go with our device. I should mention here that it is fully integrated with Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Cisco WebEx, so that in conjunction you can voice activate and conduct your and call into a any kind of conferencing meeting with the device without using your hands, without dialing anything. So if you're out on the floor and you need remote support out on a factory floor, or doing some kind of complicated repair somewhere, you can immediately get remote technical support, if you will. As one use case example, just by placing the call, you can take a photo with your voice, pass that photo back to your technical support, remote technical support. They could annotate that photo and send it back to you, that you can view in your monocular lens to give more specific instruction for maybe the repair question that you have. So if you step back and think about it, there's a whole variety of use cases, but our key industries that we're focused on right now, our key verticals, are oil and gas, automotive, and then what we call consumer goods, consumer packaging, okay, warehousing and the like. Our supply chain is, as I said, it's global and it's virtual, right? So we have a small team. Or as I said, overall, the company is 100 people. And so we have a small supply chain team, but we manage a global supply chain, right? And we support, we as customers, we've had 41 of the Fortune 100 companies as customers. So we have to play big, right? We say we punch above our weight, and this is why, right? Very small organization, but supporting the expectations of very large corporations around the world. Our manufacturing is in China, and a co-design with our ODM. We have 2 regional third-party warehouses, contract logistics, one in Hong Kong and one in Portland. And then we have 3 regional repair centers, and probably building a 4th. And our supply chain continues to grow. I was mentioning to Jennifer before the call, one of the challenges that we have is increasing complexity to our supply chain, given our scale of resources, to meet new and emerging needs in the market. But that's just one of the things we continually need to work through, and it's why efficiency across the board is so important to us, to be able to get that scale. We have a 2-tier distribution model, so we sell primarily to large distributors who in turn sell to resellers, who then sell to the end customer. ISVs and resellers. Okay, so that's a little bit of context. And then why did we select this particular problem? You'll see in a future slide that our overall performance in our fulfillment, our order fulfillment, is actually very strong. We advertise that we can ship within 3 days to our customers, and we meet that with few exceptions. Only during a time of, say, product launches where we've been supply constrained for a short time have we missed that window. So we're doing very, very well. But we are concerned about scalability, right? This is an emerging market. We have large customers, and our orders can be very, very spiky. We can have a large volume of orders, and our expected growth trend is high. So even though our current performance has been quite good, we need to make sure that it can is set up to scale. So that's really what we're trying to get ahead of. Also, we did this because the VSM training is a local event, and this particular process of ours from order entry through fulfillment is managed for the most part locally. So the 4 people here that joined the team are all Portland based. Okay. And then the scope we thought was conducive to a training event. Okay. So those are the reasons behind that. And then just a little bit of history, as I mentioned, and I apologize for that. There we go. Order fulfillment. The line across this shows a 4-day maximum target to ship, and they're actually within that. We've reduced it since first half of last year, but to ship within 3 days of customer order. And you can still see from basically March onward, we've done that. That trend has continued throughout the rest of the year. But it's performance that we want to maintain with higher volume. Okay, so that's the key point there. And also to say that even though this macro metric, and it's good, it captures all of the segments of order fulfillment and then your total, and so a very useful measure of supply chain performance. But value stream mapping gets you to a very different perspective, right? It gets us to what is actually happening individually by order, and where are the inefficiencies and wastes, right, in that process, right? That's really what we have to get to address any kind of scale concerns. Okay. So again, the current state, we went about the standard kind of VSM process, and just so everyone knows, a quick advertisement. This is, if you can see this is one of our Bibles, Learning to See, which I know Northwest HPEC uses. Another one that I love is Building a Lean Supply Stream. So I highly recommend that for those in supply chain world. I refer to this quite a bit in my work. But we went about to outline the major process blocks from order entry through shipment and billing. And then we went through, with trays were really measuring over the shoulder, processing some sample orders, right? It's just step by step all the way through. We took that through each of the process steps, through Wayne's portion of the fulfillment, generating the pick list is passed to our 3PLs, and then the follow-up once the 3PLs fulfill. How is that data updated into our system of record, which we use NetSuite all the way through. And then so we capture all that detail, which are touch points. We measured, as I said, cycle times and lead times all the way through, and that throughout. Then we went on to a future state. Once we identified the pain points, the areas of waste, we were then able to outline a future state that we want to move towards, and then develop our plans to get to that future state, right? Which we'll talk about. So that was our overall approach. And on the right here, I just posted a couple of things that were some guiding principles that Northwest HPEC provided that were just helpful for the group as we went through this process. Okay. So I'm not going to go through current state. There we go. Current state, VSM. So again, the major steps are in the orange stickies: order entry, approval, review the order, generate pick list. That involves things like checking the international trade consolidated screening list, right, for excluded individuals, entities, countries, right? We do that for every order. Then the ship process, which again, we go out to one of two of our third parties for contract logistics, the 3PLs. And then that information comes back post shipment to upload it in the NetSuite. Now, one of our 3PLs is on B2BI. That's the Portland, and our Hong Kong actually is not, right, at this point. But what I circled here is on the order entry and on the confirmed ship, you can see the cycle times are the longest on those two areas. Those are where the greatest opportunities are, right? And I thought, Trey, I was going to turn it over to you just to quickly summarize the pain points on the order entry side, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, anybody who's done order entry knows that you can only automate so much. We're not fortunate enough to be Amazon, where our customers fill in all the data for us. So, there is a person doing data entry and going field by field, making sure that all the data from the purchase orders that we receive is put into our system of record, which happens to be NetSuite. And these are perfect times in a controlled environment. Obviously, there's a lot of room for variation in our cycle times when you have, flipping back and forth between screens, the manual nature of entering data, being distracted. I have a couple of other documents that I sometimes have to reference, making sure that the correct FedEx numbers and shipping account numbers are being used, making sure the right sales rep is being commissioned on the orders, and that's if everything's going well. The probably the biggest pain point is incomplete orders that are deviate from pricing that's in the system, missing information, or maybe using wrong pricing, those sorts of things. So that's something that really slows down that portion of order entry. I'll let Wayne speak to the second half.
So Wayne covers the fulfillment piece. So once we get through the financial approval, step 2 of the order, then Wayne does the order review and manages all the way through 3PL communication, information flows to and from, and then the update into NetSuite. So with that, Wayne, do you mind going through the key pain points on your end?
No. So obviously there's three big chunks there. Reviewing the orders for the consolidated screening. I don't know if anybody has done any of the consolidated screening, but it's a little bit cumbersome, and it does consume a bit of time. And then obviously outbound shipping, we're reviewing the orders to make sure that they're shipping from the correct locations, and then designating those locations and sending the paperwork either through automated systems, as we mentioned, for our Portland 3PL. We can do a data transfer that's very straightforward, and it's push button and move forward sort of data transfer, which is really nice. Our Hong Kong 3PL is literally generating PDFs, accumulating the PDFs, building commercial invoices to support those PDFs, and then sending those document packets to our Hong Kong third-party logistics provider, who then translates it all into Chinese and updates their systems, ships the material, translates back from Chinese to English, and then sends that document packet back to me with the pertinent data. And then I go in and manually enter that pertinent data into our NetSuite system so that we can process the outbound shipping and generate an invoice for that customer. If anybody's listening, they can find where there's a few pinch points right in there. Obviously, all of our shipping, even the third-party logistics provider in Portland, we do a validation of transaction. Once the transactions are complete at the end of the day, they will send me a list of the transactions that they believe have been completed, along with any serial number information that I need to have. And then I step back in and review each one of those sales orders to ensure that the data packet and the data transfer was successful. We see success 95, 98% of the time. Occasionally there will be a hang up, a serial number won't have transferred correctly, or some other small discrepancy that will derail that particular order. Those 2% or 3% are what generates the requirement to actually check all of those sales orders. It's something that it's truly a challenge. And then obviously from the Hong Kong side, it is a completely manual data entry, data update process into NetSuite and to enter those orders. So couple of pain points. Obviously, I think that we outlined that between 40 and 227 seconds per order. 40 obviously being a perfect order happening in a perfect way. 227 seconds is actually probably an average order. It's certainly not a catastrophe or worst case scenario. So those are the ranges of times that we're looking at, and you can see that there's real opportunities for improvement there.
Yeah, but it's important to point out that even though, you know, the second count may not seem like a lot, if you look at, say, hey, if we move to 1,000 orders, right, or a high volume of orders, all of a sudden, both Trey and Wayne's time is completely consumed to manage the fulfillment throughout the day, right? And they have a whole set of other responsibilities, right? There's only a fraction of what their job responsibilities are. So it's really important that we find efficiencies where we can here.
Yeah, my job description is data analyst. Obviously, that's not really data analyst, what I was just describing there, but they're all critical things that have to happen. So.
Right. Okay, so we broke up some of the things on the, wait a minute, I might be missing something here, I'm sorry. My mouse is a little touchy, so I apologize for the back and forth here. But okay, so I'm going back to the current state summary. So we talked about the key pain points, right? Those are summarized by Trey and Wayne, but there are a whole series of things listed here. I won't go through all of them, but underneath each of the key process steps, we outlined the key things that we want to go after to eliminate waste, right, and improve our scalability. So this is really the basis, right, for what we want to address in our future state. Okay. And then with that, Mark, I'm going to turn this one over to you, if you don't mind, to go through the breakdown of long-term and quick wins.
Sure. So by looking at that, those key pain points, and moving into what we consider our current best future state, there were some things that that we need to do in order to change that. That were identified. Some of those were some automation steps. We do have a B2B capability in Portland. We'd like to mirror that with our 3PL facility in Hong Kong, and then leverage our system as well. I mean, there were some really great ideas. Some of them require a lot of work, a level of effort that's high from a long-term perspective, but then there's also ones we identified that were very quick, things we could do that were quick wins, kind of just go do rather than making a project out of them. And so we kind of broke those, looking at our future state there, looking at the things that we need to do in order to get to our future state into long-term and quick wins. And then utilizing that, kind of moving into like how now do we do this, right? So we have these things that we need to do. How do we do them, and how do we make sure that they get done? And so, like, if you move on to the next screen there, Craig, we'll talk about the methodology in which we're going to do them. So we're going to use a Kanban system. Or that's what we're utilizing right now. We're utilizing Microsoft Teams in conjunction with Microsoft Planner. And we kind of set up, a pretty typical Kanban agile workflow of things that we want to do, things that we are doing, and things that we've done. And we list them out in this Microsoft Planner tool. And utilizing our daily and weekly stand-ups, we go through, the things that we're doing now, and then and moving them along. And you can see here we have a couple of different dependencies. For example, like in order for us to manage back orders in our order entry, the first thing we have to do is automate this restricted list. Some of our customer shipping list. Can we actually ship to that customer? Once we can get that done, then we have a dependency that we can move on to the next one. So some of the things we chose, I mean, like one of the ones in the to-do list, we've identified two. We have a EDI for large customers or a customer portal. Both of them were suggestions to do long-term. We've decided as a company, we're going to do one or the other, making an investigation on which one might be more feasible for the customers we service, or the beneficent to us. But right now, since they're sitting in the to-do pile, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on, this hyper extended agile workflow, this hyper focused agile workflow is only focused on the things that we're doing. And so we review the stand up in our stand up every week. We talk about it on a daily basis on the things that we're going to do. And then, the ultimate goal is to move the things move the to do into the things that you're doing, and then move the things that you're doing into done. So, we're moving from left to right on your screen there. And that's ultimately everything on the left will end up on the right.
So as a little bit of a report card, you can see at least we've taken some action. We made some progress since a month ago when we had the VSM event. And so we meet every Wednesday, and we have a daily stand up, and every Wednesday we spend a full hour and go through updates to our follow-up actions. Okay. So some comments around how can RealWear apply the VSM methodology, the value stream mapping methodology throughout the company. So what we did at the training event, and how value stream mapping, in my past experience, has been typically we have people all in the same area, right? You're engaging directly in person. You're putting the stickies directly onto the wall, and you're able to move things around very quickly, right? When you're globally dispersed as we are, most of our processes, right, we will not be able to gather to do a value stream mapping event. So the discussions that Mark and I have been having both have some experience on this, is how do we do it most effectively remotely? If you do it kind of via conferencing, typically you're not going to have people's attention for more than a couple of hours at a time. So with that assumption, then breaking it down, the way we're thinking about it is you've got to do a fair amount of pre-work to make sure people are fully understanding the value stream mapping methodology. But in your first session, aside from your intro, you might get to identifying your key process boxes. And then in subsequent sessions, you might take one box and drill down and then do the detailed measurements, right, of the cycle time and lead times. And next session, do your next box until you build out the entire current state, and then you can move on to future state. Now, when you do that, you're going to have people's attention, and then they're going to be off doing other things before you regather. So it's going to be really important, I think, to at least have some kind of a mapping or way to visually show where we are in the process to help people quickly re-engage with the material. So it's something we want to experiment with and pilot at RealWear, this kind of remote value stream mapping. But we also are very interested in anybody on this call who has experience doing that, because we'd like to learn from the collective experience and expertise of the group. Because I'm sure we're not the only ones who have faced this challenge before. And we can continue to have that, keep that as an ongoing kind of conversation, if you will. And I just want to offer a thank you to Jennifer for helping us coordinate this event, for Carrie Pensa, who facilitated very effectively. She did a terrific job, and then all the attendees. We have a couple on this call. Really great engagement, really good insights. We found it quite helpful. And it's always good to have people who are kind of outside of the organization come in and come in with a unique perspective. Certain things you may take for granted, you might see in a different light, and that was certainly the case here. So again, thank you for everyone who participated. One final note before we open up the questions is I'd like to highlight that we use our device to run our business, to run our supply chain. So if you think about it, we've done part of a line validation in China with a quality engineer based in China, wearing the headset with the camera. This is when our ODM changed manufacturing location, right, and did it in fairly short notice. But we were able to see exactly what our quality engineer was seeing as he was taking notes and walking through the process steps on the line as we were doing the pilot runs for our product. Another application at RealWear has been with our repair centers. where there's a product upgrade process that they've been trained on to upgrade to our new and improved display. So we basically change the identity of one product to another. And they've our tech support team has provided that training, provided videos, but also had devices at our repair centers, our third-party repair centers, on the technicians as they're performing the work, so that our tech support team could validate, okay, yeah, you've done that correctly. So those are just a couple of examples of how we use it in our supply chain. And I would be happy if people are interested to spend more time on that in a separate session, but just wanted to mention that. And with that, Jennifer, I'll pass it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Craig and Trey and Wayne and Mark, for sharing. That was fabulous.